Hello viewer, welcome to History and Government lesson Form 1. This is lesson 5 with your teacher Mr. John GATUMA. It has been a great pleasure to take you through from lesson 1 to lesson 5. And in lesson 4, in our previous lesson, we were looking at the evolution of man, the early man, and we looked at the theory that explain the origin of early man. And I gave you some assignment that you would try. I gave you some assignment that you would try, and we said we shall discuss today before we progress to the next lesson. So therefore, the first question was, what are the three theories that explain the origin of man? What are the three theories that explain the origin of man? So the theory, or rather the explanation that are given to explain the origin of man, there are three, and this is one. We have a traditional theory, which is also known as oral tradition theory, and this is the theory that is based on the myth or the stories that explain about the origin of something. We have another theory, that is the evolution theory, and we say evolution theory. This is a theory that is scientific in nature, and this was given by a natural scientist, and this is known as Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin gave out the evolution theory. And the last theory, we have the creation theory. The creation theory, this is based on the scriptures. It's based on the scriptures. This is in Christian we have Bible, in Muslim we have Quran, and in India or Hindu we have the Vedas. So the question 2 was, name 3 holy scriptures that explain the origin of man. We have 3 holy scriptures. This is in Christianity we have Bible, the book of Genesis. We have Islam, which uses the Quran as the scriptures. The Hindu, we have Vedas. So these were the 3 holy scriptures that we're supposed to write on that particular question. So therefore, in today's lesson, we shall continue on the same chapter, chapter 2, about early man, and the subtopic that we are going to deal with is the stages in which evolution took place. Now that we have discussed the origin of man, remember we said in evolution, this is whereby man changed from a simple life creature to a more complex creature over the years. So therefore, we want to see from all this period of time, we are calling from a million of years time. We want to see these stages in which man evolution took place. And we start by defining the term evolution. We start by defining evolution even before we take you through the evolution of man. So what is evolution? Evolution, as the name suggests, evolution. Evolution refers to a process of slow or gradual change in makeup of man from simple life form to a more complex feature over millions of years. So evolution, it is a process, it is a slow process or a gradual change. It is a slow or gradual change in makeup of man from a very simple organism, or rather a very simple life form, to a more complex creature. This is to say, man changed from being a simple organism to a very complex creature, that is a man-like creature that we have today. So this is the gone through an evolution stages, and today we shall look at these evolution stages. Look at the demonstration of the evolution. You see man has changed from a very, or rather a molecules or a very simple life form, that is a molecule, to a man that you see today. So life began from a very small, or rather a simple life form to a more complex creature that you can see today. You can see from molecules go to ape-like man, all the way progressing to the modern man that you can see today, who can stand upright. This is another demonstration. You see man changing from now the ape to the modern man. You can see them walking. This is it was done. It was gone through the stages of evolution that we shall discuss today. And when we talk about the evolution, you need to know a man who came up with this theory of evolution. And this is none other than the Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin being one of the natural scientists, he was able to read the Bible and understand the story of creation. Or rather, he had a biblical faith in explanation of this. And therefore, he gave a Christian world view of how man evolved. And therefore, Charles Darwin came up with the evolution theory. So we shall deal now with this man, the scientist, Charles Darwin. He came up with Darwinism. You can call it Darwinism, or rather the evolution theory. So in his book, that is the origin of species, it is where he has recorded all these stages of evolution of man. So, on the evolution theory, was given by Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin was born in 1802 to 1882, in 1809 to 1882, and he was a scientist. I've said he was a natural scientist, and he's known most of all of his theory. That is the theory of evolution, and he suggested an idea of the natural selection. We shall discuss these stages, distinct stages. And when we talk of the natural selection, being a natural scientist, he was able to study how animals behave, how animals evolve. And this one means he came up with a new species that evolved from existing one. That through the natural selection, the new species evolved from existing one. And in his argument, he challenged an idea that God was responsible for all the design and the structures of the universe. So, in 1859, Charles Darwin, he published a book, and this book is the one that will guide us. This book is known as An Origin of Species. And according to this theory that is found in the Origin of Species, we see that he explained that man evolved from ape and not from Adam and Eve. That is now the contradiction. He came up by studying the natural selection. He was able to criticize what is there in the Bible, that God was not responsible for the design and also the structures of the universe. And therefore, according to his theory, he discussed that we human beings, or rather a man, evolved from ape, not from Adam and Eve, as it is there in the Bible. So, the evolution theory is a cycle. It is a cycle, or rather the process, whereby which start with the replication, mutation, and the selection. We shall discuss these stages in this particular lesson today. So, looking at the distinct stages in which evolution took place, according now to Charles Darwin, we are going to discuss the distinct stages or distinct process in which evolution took place according to Charles Darwin in his book, The Origin of Species. So, we start with the first stage. The first stage of evolution is known as the mutation. It is known as the mutation. And mutation refers to the sudden or abrupt change in the makeup of living things due to changes in the environment. As the environment changes, there was a sudden or rather an abrupt change in the makeup of the living things. Remember that Charles Darwin, according to his theory, he said that God is not responsible for the design and also the makeup of the man, the way he is. And also he continued by saying that man did not evolve from the Adam and Eve, but it was was a popular belief in the scripture. So therefore, according to Charles Darwin, he said that man changed through a process of a sudden change, or rather an abrupt change in the makeup of the living things due to changes in the environment that occurs. And looking at my illustration here, you see how organisms change because of the changing in the environment. Look at all these pictures. You see how they have evolved. They have changed due to the changes in the environment. So, because man wanted to adapt to the environment, he or she, or rather an organism, must change to adapt to the environment that is offered. So the mutation, therefore, it is a random change. You can summarize it as it is a random change in gene, or rather the chromosome, that result in a new characteristic that can be inherited. So as the environment changes, man had to undergo a random change, or rather an abrupt change in the gene, or rather the chromosome, that result in the new characteristics that can be inherited. So these traits, they can be inherited, and they are heavily influenced by the changes in the environment. Going to the second stage of evolution according to Charles Darwin, we have the natural selection. The second stage is the natural selection. And according to him, he said that after mutation, after a sudden change due to the changes in the environment, only the fittest organism could survive because the weak became extinct due to the limited resource. The word extinct in my statement, it means that those animals, or rather those organisms, which cannot fit, that is according to the natural selection. There are organisms which cannot fit. They could not survive because these weak, or rather the weaklings, they died. That's what means with the term extinct. So, and they are depleted, or rather they died, they extincted because of the limited resources. They cannot be able to compete, or rather to adapt to the environment after the mutation. And therefore these organisms, they definitely are extincted, or rather they die. That is according to the natural selection. As the name suggests, natural selection. This is where it's the rule of the nature, whereby the nature favors only the organisms which are the fittest in that particular environment. And this comes after the mutation. So therefore, look at the illustration of the natural selection. We have the variation of the trait as the changes in the environment. Because these weaklings organisms, they could not survive. They extincted, or rather they died as a result of the selection of the nature. Then is the law of nature. The only survival for the fittest. The fit organism is the one that is able to succeed to the next level. So therefore, this theory of the natural selection that was put forward by Charles Darwin, so this theory came to be popularly known as the survival for the fittest. So the natural selection came to be regarded as the survival for the fittest, and therefore the survival for the fittest is the principle of the natural selection, whereby those who are eliminated in the struggle, that is in the forest, or rather in the nature, they are eliminated from the existence because they are unfit. So the survival of the fittest in this case is the principle of the natural selection, where those who are eliminated in the struggle for existence are unfit, and therefore they become extinct. The only stronger they will succeed. Well, looking at my illustration, you see the law of the jungle, or rather the law of the nature. So the organisms which cannot survive, or the organisms which are much stronger, they are the ones which will take their place, and therefore they will survive. And those who cannot, those who are weak, the weaklings, they become extinct. Another demonstration of the law of nature, you see the two antelope. The antelope which is much stronger, it will not be killed in the forest, and therefore it will survive. And the one which is weaker, it will definitely die, or rather become extinct. So that is the law of nature. We have the survival for the fittest. The organism, or rather the human being which was weaker, became extinct. This is through the process of evolution, and that is the survival for the fittest. The stronger will survive, and the weaker will die. So on the third stage of evolution, according to Charles Darwin, it is isolation. Isolation is the third. As the name suggests, isolate. To isolate is to be left behind. And therefore, according to him, he said that if a species is isolated, or rather left behind from the rest, it changed. The organism which has been left alone, when others have extincted, or rather they have died, that animal will change, and it will change through the process of evolution. So this is the third stage of evolution. In my demonstration, you see this type of bird. The bird is left alone, and therefore when it is left alone, it is isolated from the rest. It definitely changes. The characteristic, or rather the trait, will change, and making this animal to adapt to the new environment. So the species that is left will automatically change some physical features, or rather the physical traits that is there in the animal. You can see in the demonstration, some of the animals change their physical features. You can see the beak of this animal. Having a look at this beak, we have the first bird, the second, third, and fourth. And therefore the first has got a sharper, or rather a wider beak compared to the second, third, and fourth. You can see the process, or rather the changing in the physical features. The beak is decreasing because of the changes in the environment. And this one occurred when some of the species, or rather the animals or organisms, were left. They automatically change their physical features. Although they are not all the physical features, but some of the main physical features will definitely change, so that it makes this species to adapt to the environment after it has been left alone, or rather isolated. So on the fourth stage in this case, we have the environmental adaptations, or rather adaptations. And as the name suggests, environmental adaptations, this is where an organism will get to be acclimatized, or rather adapt to the environment. So this comes after isolation. After an animal or species has been left alone, species must adapt to the new environment and may become physically different from the rest. So this one, the only difference between isolation and an environmental adaptation. In environmental adaptation, the organism must change completely so that it can fit, or rather adapt to the new environment. So these animals, or rather these species, they become physically different from the rest. Whereas on the isolation, we say, after an animal has been left, some of the physical features, not all the physical features, some of the physical features may change so that it can adapt. That is the only difference. So on the fourth stage, an animal becomes physically different from the rest so that it can fit in the new environment. So due to all these processes that we have discussed, Man developed a hairy body to keep the body warm. So the man developed the hairy body, or rather the fur. This one was to make or to keep the human beings or man warm. So the early man evolved or rather changed his physical features by developing some hairy body. So he also ate wild fruit. So man could eat the wild fruit to adapt to the new environment. Remember this wild fruit, they were raw because there was no any invention of fire. So therefore man had to adapt to the new environment. Even after isolation, after the natural selection, so there are stronger human beings that was left. He had to change the physical characteristic. He had to change the type of food, the diet, and therefore he started eating the wild fruit and also the raw meat so to adapt to the new environment. So looking at this early man, an early man has changed. So instead of wearing clothes, or rather the clothing, so the early man could have or rather could have some fur or rather develop some hairy body. So this is to make him more warm, especially at night when it was very cold. And therefore man also had to eat some fruit. You can see man eating fruit to adapt to fight hunger. He had to eat all these. So we summarize this evolution process, the stages of evolution. You can see now human evolution process. Man came from an ape-like creature to a modern man. An ape-like creature, man was not erect, or rather he was not upright when he was walking. But because of the process, the gradual or rather the slow process that we say, remember we defined evolution as the process of slow or gradual change from a simple life creature to a more complex creature. So man is changing from a simple life creature to a more complex creature, that is the modern man. And the way he walks, it was determined by the environment so that it can adapt to the new environment. He had to change some physical features, and therefore that's why you can see man walking while standing up upright. So this has come to the end of our lesson today, and we have discussed the distinct process or other stages of evolution of man. And I want to leave you with some assignment that you will do, so that in the next lesson we shall start from this as we view the questions together. So you attempt this question. The question is, you outline 4 distinct stages in which evolution took place according to Charles Darwin. So what are these 4 distinct stages of evolution according to Charles Darwin? So you get all these stages, and therefore in the next lesson we shall be able to start from there. So thank you for following my lesson. So you can contact us, that is the Limu TV. That is through the SMS number on your screen. That is the number 40007. That is the number 40007. On our Facebook page, you can get us at the Limu TV page, and on our Twitter handle, you can always get us at the Limu TV_KE. So it has been, I'm so glad that you are watching Limu TV. That is your TV station where you watch and learn. So thank you. Stay tuned till we meet in the next lesson. I have been your teacher, Mr. John and GATUMA. Thank you. Until we meet.